Hello everybody, this is Napa Fan here, and this is race number 5 in the 2017 Kubota GT Championship. We are here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for the Canadian SportsCar Grand Prix. It's a 25-lap race around this 2.45-mile road course in Bowmanville, Canada. And it's going to be a very entertaining one for this half-an-hour race here today, north of the border. And we got ourselves both classes ready to get this one started. Starting on the pole position for GT Le Mans, Jordan Lopez. He's going to gain a bonus point towards the championship for that. And starting on the pole in GT Daytona, it's the points leader in GT Daytona, Eli Bright, in the number 88, who grabbed the fastest time in qualifying in that class. As for the points in GT Le Mans, Cody Smart still holds an 8-point lead ahead of our last winner here in GT Le Mans, Donovan Duthit, and Chris Skinlart. Both of those guys, Duthit and Skinlart, tied for the second position. Alexander Rowe, 13 points behind, running fourth in the championship heading into this race. And Dane Ammon, the Riverside winner, the last guy who won a half-an-hour race, only 16 points behind coming into today's event. In GT Daytona, Eli Bright, who starts on the pole for today's race, is tied with Philip Goldberg in the point standings. They both have 82 points for the championship coming into today's race. Then well behind those guys in third, it's Thomas Troxel, 17 points behind. Our last winner in the Kubota GT Championship of GT Daytona, Caleb Hoffman, 18 points behind, and Nick Smith, 20 points behind, coming into the Canadian SportsCar Grand Prix in the Kubota GT Championship at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Let's go ahead and get these guys to roll off here for the 5th race of the season, and a half-an-hour race here today. It's going to be the first of 4 races that are going to happen week after, excuse me, it's the second of 5 races that are going to happen week after week. What am I saying? Because last week was Watkins Glen, so 5 weeks in a row we're going to have the Kubota GT Championship here on Napa Fan, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a 25-lap race here today around the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. The number 15, Jordan Lopez, starts on the pole in GT Le Mans. Right alongside him is the number 2 of John Arndt. Row number 2 in GT Le Mans. The number 10, Blaine Key, starting alongside Nicholas Samadio. Row number 3, we got Donovan Duthit, the last winner here in the Kubota GT Championship at GT Le Mans. Got the win in the Salins 1 hour of the Glen. He starts alongside Alexander Rowe. Row at number 4, number 27, Emerson Sheets, alongside points leader Cody Smart. Row number 5 is Isaac Nichols and Dane Ammon. In GT Daytona, pole sitter is Eli Bright in the number 88. Row number 2, we got Daniel McMillan and Jay Jefferson starting alongside each other. Row 3, it's Julius Anderson in the number 6 of Devin Cook. Row number 4, it's the number 1, William Brock, alongside Tristan Allen. We got Tyler already, the defending champion, starting alongside the number 3 of Dale Salzman. And those are the top 9 starting positions in GT Daytona. Definitely a very hilly road course, especially throughout this part of the racetrack. You go down the hill, then you go up the hill. And this turn right here, a very tight one. We might see some passes on the racetrack at that part of the racetrack. Still camera angle for this racetrack as well. I can't remember if I used the TV1 or the TV2 camera for this one. I'm actually fairly sure that I used the TV2 camera for this one, but I can't quite remember. Well, we're just going to have to see. I think I do use the TV2 camera for this racetrack. Well, we're just going to have to see as it goes along. I just can't remember. I really can't remember. We might actually have used the TV1 camera. It's been such a long time. It's been since Season 3 of the Chick-fil-A Cup Series that any of my series has gone to this racetrack. So, I really don't know, like, what camera angle I normally use, because it's been so long since I've used it. Well over a year since I've actually done a race at this racetrack. But we're back. And we're back with the Kubota GT Championship for the Canadian SportsCar Grand Prix. It is a 25-lap race, a 30-minute race here today, half an hour around this 2.45-mile racetrack in Bowmanville, Ontario. Race car's going to pull off. We're ready to get this one started in the Kubota GT Championship. It's Jordan Lopez, John Arnott in the front row in GT Le Mans. We're green flag racing in the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix. And Lopez with the jump on the start. Here comes Nicholas Samadillo for the second position on John Arnott. Back there in GT Daytona, Jay Jefferson has gotten around the number 88 for the lead. And the number 66 clearing the points leader for the lead in GT Daytona. These guys are right behind the GT Le Mans cars, however. I believe it is still Jordan Lopez in the lead in that class, and it is. Remember, at Watkins Glen, we kept on missing the battles for the lead in that race because we were always focusing on the other class. We might want to focus in GT Le Mans back in here. They're 3 wide. Donovan Dufit went off the racetrack there, and with 3 wide with John Arnott and Alexander Rowe, the number 7 falling back. And it looks like Jay Jefferson pulling away from the rest of the field in GT Daytona. So Jefferson looking good in that number 66. A very thrilling first lap here. We got side-by-side between Blaine Keys and Alexander Rowe. Rowe is going to be able to stay in front of the number 10. And Nicholas Samadillo is going to stay out front ahead of the number 2 of John Arnott. Jordan Lopez is going to lead the first lap of action here in GT Le Mans. And the first lap of action in GT Daytona being led by this guy, Jay Jefferson, who's almost running as fast as the GT Le Mans cars. Look at the gap he has, being first and second in GT Daytona. A very good lap there for the number 66. Well over a second lead for Jay Jefferson in GT Daytona. Julius Anderson up to 3rd place, right behind the number 88 of Eli Bright. He might get a run to the inside of him here. Not quite able to do it yet. And the racing isn't going to be as, I guess you could say, exciting as it was at Watkins Glen, but we do have pit stops in this race, and it can definitely get interesting when we get to those. Eli Bright looking to close in here on Jay Jefferson. Jay Jefferson, he's closing in on those GT Le Mans cars. It's almost like he is a GT Le Mans car, but he isn't. Not as much of a difference here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park as there was at the Watkins Glen International. We got a battle for the lead here in GT Le Mans. How about Nicholas Samadillo in the number 13? He's currently racing in the IndyCar Series. I have no idea what he's done up to this point, but I do know in the first 2 races of the Haas IndyCar Series, which I've already recorded up to this point, that he has crashed in both of them. And looking to get some redemption here in the Kubota GT Championship, running right behind Jordan Lopez. He almost got around him, almost got to the inside of him there, but was not able to get alongside him, and Lopez is going to stay out front. But this number 13 is definitely fast, and we might be seeing Nicholas Samadillo challenging for the lead very soon. Back to GT Daytona. And now there does seem to be a pretty good gap between the Le Mans cars and the Daytona cars, but Jefferson still comfortably out front in the number 66. Definitely want to follow with this lead here. Lopez off the racetrack a little bit there. Not too bad for the number 15, but Nicholas Samadillo is right behind him down the Andretti straightaway. I know that much about this racetrack. And this number 13, he's drafting this number 15, and he's staying right behind him. Any slip up from the number 15 of Jordan Lopez, and Nicholas Samadillo is going to get to the inside of him and take the lead. But Lopez holds on for this lap. Samadillo is going to try to the inside, though. And Nicholas Samadillo is going to get a run to the inside of Jordan Lopez. And a battle for the lead in GT Le Mans, side by side between Samadillo and Lopez. Samadillo is going to try to get at the stick here on the outside. He's off the racetrack, and the number 13, and in the wall he goes. He overshot the corner, overshot turn number 2, and in the wall goes Nicholas Samadillo. Significant damage to his race car. He's side by side with Isaac Nichols now. Cody Smart. He was side by side with Jordan Lopez. Overshot the corner. And very tough break for the veteran driver of Nicholas Samadillo. You might want to be careful through this corner. He's going to put Jordan Carter up the racetrack a little bit. A very unfortunate incident there in the GT Le Mans lead. As for GT Daytona, it is still Jay Jefferson leading the field. And Jefferson has pulled out to a very significant lead ahead of points leader Eli Bright. We got a lot of side-by-side going on, though. Good runs for Tristan Allen. I do believe Tristan Allen finished 2nd here when the Chick-fil-A Cup Series visited here in season number 3. But Tristan Allen knows his way around this racetrack pretty well. Devin Cook is trying to get a position away from him, however. There's Tyler Lyman, the winner at Sebring, alongside William Brock. You see Devin Cookie's going to put Tristan Allen in the wall. And just as I was saying, Tristan Allen with a great run here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Side by side, and in the outside wall he goes. Oh, and it looks like Thomas Troxel also with an issue in the number 71. Looks like we had another crash. It looks like here Jalarvin Alonso and Emmanuel Hartnett were involved in something. And that's something to put on the notebook to review at the end of the race. Lap 5 there with Alonso and Hartnett. As for the GT Le Mans lead, Jordan Lopez, he can't really catch too much of a gap between him and second place. You got to be careful here. And that is a very smart move by here Jalarvin Alonso. Going in the grass and not being on the racetrack to block the leaders in GT Le Mans. Very, very good idea. I wish some other guys in the real series could figure that out. We saw that finish at Long Beach. You know, that didn't go over too well with the GT Daytona cars and the GT Le Mans cars there at the end of that race. And anyways, it looks like Cody Sill might have also had a problem in the number 16, as he is mixed in with these GT Le Mans cars at the moment. Might want to try to check on Sill as well. He might have just come down the pit lane for service. Not entirely sure. But as for the lead in GT Le Mans, it is really heating up. John Hart trying to catch up to this number 15 as close as he can. And I'm telling you, this number 2 might get alongside this 15 before the green flag pit stops begin. Might be very soon. And let's not count out Alexander Rowe. Kind of a dark horse, and no pun intended on what's on that car, but kind of a dark horse this season. He's really had trouble in qualifying. He's not really gotten too many good starting positions, but he has finished very well. He comes into this race only 13 points behind points leader Cody Smart. He theoretically could take the points lead in this race, and Alexander Rowe, you got to hand it to him for the very good season he's had so far. Plus, this race as well, running third right now here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Back to GT Daytona, see what's going on down there. It looks pretty calm right now. However, Eli Bright has lost second place and fallen back to fourth in the number 88, as Julius Anderson and Daniel McMillan both got around him. But all that battling for second place is going to be very good news for Jay Jefferson in this one. Jefferson able to take the lead away from Eli Bright there on the start. And this number 66 looking to take the win in GT Daytona. Go back up to GT Le Mans. And John Hart, man, he's trying. He might get a run here to the inside of the 15. But Arndt all over the back bumper of the 15 of Jordan Lopez. And I'm telling you, this number 2 might very well get the lead here before this race is over. John Hart started on the pole at Sebring, had a very struggling day there. And his season has not really been too good either. But he's looking pretty strong right now in this number 2 here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And he might get this win north of the border. But we got other guys behind here. And plus, let's not count out the leader. Jordan Lopez is definitely a very good driver. He started on the pole for this one. He's led every lap so far in GT Le Mans. Emerson Sheets, a good run for him, running 4th right now. Blaine Keys running in 5th. Our last winner, Donovan Duthick, got that win at Watkins Glen in the Salem's 1 hour of the Glen. He's running 6th. Got Cody Smart, the points leader, running 7th. Isaac Nichols, Dane Ammon, and Josh Crash, the top 10 at GT Le Mans. John Hart trying to get alongside Jordan Lopez. Running a bit of a different line down the Andretti straightaway, but he cannot get alongside him. You got to draft the guy down the straightaway if you're going to get alongside him, because that's how you close up to him and get that slingshot and get alongside the driver in front of you. Lopez able to lead yet another lap here in GT Le Mans, but this number 2 is pressuring him like crazy. Back to GT Daytona and the lead in that class, and Jay Jefferson, he is pulled out to a very large lead ahead of Julius Anderson and Daniel McMillan. And a very easy race so far for this number 66 of Jay Jefferson. The number 13, Nicholas Samadia, we saw what happened to him. He's 3 laps down. He might be out of the race. I do not see him on the racetrack anymore. That's a tough break for him. He was running side by side for the lead with Jordan Lopez and overshot the corner. Now John Arndt is going to get a run here to the inside, and this might be the pass for the lead that we've been waiting for in GT Le Mans. Lopez went a little bit wide there, and John Arndt side by side with him for the lead on lap 9 of this race. They're almost bumping off each other down the Andretti straightaway. John Arndt to the inside. He's got the inside this time, and there he goes. He has cleared Jordan Lopez for the lead in GT Le Mans. New leader here in the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix, John Arndt in the number 2. And a very well executed pass for the number 2 G-Mac machine. And John Arndt is out front in GT Le Mans. Now Lopez, he's going to be under fire here from Alexander Rowe. Rowe definitely has a very strong race car in that number 8. He might be able to get around that number 15. We're closing in on a GT Daytona car. That is Emmanuel Hartnett. Hartnett's been having a very struggling season in the GT Daytona class. He crashed in the first 2 races of the season, and I believe he had an incident in this one as well, which we were going to review later on in the video. Looks like these guys are going to be able to pass him down the Andretti straightaway. At least John Arndt will be able to. I'm not sure about the rest of the guys behind him. But John Arndt, there he goes to the inside of Emmanuel Hartnett, and it's not going to be too much of a problem for the number 2. Down to Duthit, Blaine Keys side by side. Duthit trying to take 5th away from the number 10. Oh, but he's off the racetrack, and in the wall he goes. I believe he was trying to come down the pit lane, and he overshot the corner. And as for the pit lane, pit stops have begun. John Arndt, Jordan Lopez, and Alexander Rowe down the pit lane. We'll see if the GT Daytona cars are coming in. And I believe Jay Jefferson might have already done so. You see another car, that's Jordan Carter in number 38 with damage. And these guys are going to have to make another stop in this race after this one. So it's going to be a 2-stop race for these guys here. Julius Anderson, Daniel McMillan, I see them down the pit lane, but I do not see the 66. Did something happen to Jay Jefferson? I'll try to locate him on the racetrack. I believe he might have come in a lap before these guys. Yeah, there he is in the number 66, but these guys are having major issues. That is Philip Goldberg in the 55, who is tied for the points lead with Eli Bright in GT Daytona. He had a major issue trying to come into the pit lane. Donovan Duthit had an issue coming into the pit lane. Jordan Carter as well. And Emerson Sheets in number 27 is going to get in the way everybody should get in. Most of these guys are able to get through, but tough break for Philip Goldberg, the points leader in the tied points leader in GT Daytona. Is not going to be the points leader at the end of this one, as Eli Bright gained a bonus point towards the championship in the number 88. He managed to get around the number 56 on the pit stops. Got around Daniel McMillan there, but it's still number 66 of Jay Jefferson leading the field. That is Dane Ammon in the number 40. Another GT Le Mans car with an issue. And you can see him there on the screen. He's backing up, trying to get that thing refired, and oh my goodness, he almost got hit by somebody. Jordan Carter also with damage in the number 38. And something going on with those GT Le Mans cars. We're going to have to go back and see what happened to those guys. I'm going to try to review all that I can at the beginning, but I can't really guarantee too much. As for the lead in GT Le Mans, it is showing that the number 27 of Emerson Sheets holds it. Trying to locate him on the racetrack, and there he is. Expecting him to be, there he is. And I believe that this number 27 is not going to be the leader quite yet. The number 2 of John Arndt is ahead of him, so I would assume that John Arndt would be the leader here. It's actually showing the number 34 out front. There he is making his pit stop. And there is John Arndt going around in the number 2. So John Arndt inheriting the lead away from the number 27. How about Isaac Nichols up to second in the number 23? The other guys that were battling with John Arndt were Jordan Lopez, who is going to be 4th after that. And Alexander Rowe is going to be 5th after the cycle of pit stops. Pretty poor pit stops for Lopez and Rowe. They're kind of deep in the field right now. A good one for Emerson Sheets, who's going to be 3rd once this whole thing cycles through. Number 23, Isaac Nichols, going to be 2nd, and John Arndt has pulled out to a very significant lead here in the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix. Whoa, how about that? Philip Goldberg, a GT Daytona car, getting in the way of Alexander Rowe. He's in the GT Le Mans class, the faster class, getting held up by these guys. But Rowe is going to get around the number 55. There's Elijah Gordon in number 34. He stayed out longer than anybody else, and here's a very interesting thing. He came in right about halfway. He might be able to make this whole race without having to come in again. And if he were to do that, he'd steal the victory most likely. There's Dale Salzman in GT Daytona. And the number 66 is currently out front in GT Daytona. A very nice race for Jay Jefferson here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And then Dale Salzman's coming in, so Jefferson's going to have a pretty clear racetrack ahead of him. You see Jordan Carter in the pit lane. We're going to review what happened between Carter and Amon. If it happened between those two guys, it could have been 2 separate incidents, but we will review what we can at the end of the race, as we have done all season long here in the Kubota GT Championship. But great race for Jay Jefferson. And the number 66, he jumped out to the lead very early on. He has led practically every single lap in GT Daytona so far. But Julius Anderson is 4 seconds behind. If fuel strategy is going to be any play in this race, I don't think it will be. But we're going to have another set of pit stops. So if Julius Anderson can get a really good pit stop, or maybe just take no tires on the pit stop, and just fuel only, he might be able to get around the number 66. We're just going to have to see. Strategy could definitely come into play, because once we make that final pit stop, there's only going to be a couple laps to go in the race. You see Elijah Gordon here, right on the back bumper of Zachary Fitzwater. That is for the 9th position in GT Le Mans. Kind of deep in the field for those guys. There's Emmanuel Hartnett, all torn up in the number 60. We'll review his crash at the end of the video. Cody Smart running in the 7th position still. Not too bad, not too good. Right in the middle of the field. But if he can finish there in the 7th position, he'll most likely stay in the points lead, because I don't think Skinlart or Dufit's going to get him. I think something might have happened to Chris Skinlart. Yeah, Skinlart also with an issue. I think these guys had trouble coming down the pit lane. That's a tough break for Chris Skinlart. He had been very consistent up to this point in the season. And getting knocked out, possibly because he did not get into the pit lane cleanly. But John Arndt with a very comfortable lead right now in GT Le Mans. There's Isaac Nichols, the 2nd place runner at the moment, trying to grab his first career win on Napa Fan. At least at the point of me recording this. He might have won Indy Lights race, I don't know, but this number 23, he'd love to get a win. And this is definitely a good series to win in, because these races are pretty big. They're long races, a 25-lap race around the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Quite a long race, and number 23 with a good chance at possibly taking the win. John Arndt in the number 2 remains out front right now in GT Le Mans. Basically, we're just logging laps till we get to that next set of pit stops, which is definitely going to determine who wins this race here at Mosport. Go back down to the GT Daytona lead, and while we're doing that, we see this really good battle there for the 9th position in GT Le Mans between Zachary Fitzwater and Elijah Gordon. I believe Gordon actually took 9th away from Fitzwater, but Fitzwater ended up getting back around there through that corner. Great battle back in there. Now, Elijah Gordon might be able to stay out in the GT Le Mans class and take the win overall. We're just going to have to see. Number 66, Jay Jefferson, still out front. These GT Daytona cars really don't have any lap traffic around them, and that is definitely very beneficial to these guys, and that's why they've been running a very clean race, at least for the leaders. Let's see Eli Bright anywhere. The number 88 is 3 laps down. It looks like he might have had an issue. Daniel McMillan in the 56 also. I don't see him on the racetrack. And probably had another issue with those guys back in there. A lot of stuff happens in these races. If we never review them because we're going through the race, and we can't really stop the race and go back and review because we don't have any cautions in the Kubota GT Championship. So, yeah, I think that might have been like lap 14. And that is the points leader, Eli Bright, who got in to Daniel McMillan, I do believe. Those two might have crashed, and Eli Bright came into this race the points leader, tied with Philip Goldberg. I said that Philip Goldberg wouldn't take the points lead, but I might actually, I don't know. I might not be correct about that, because you see the number 55 right behind the 88. Now, it's possible those two guys could stay tied in the points if they actually finished where the number 88 finished one position behind Philip Goldberg, but don't believe that's going to happen. I believe that the number 88 is going to finish one position ahead of Philip Goldberg. Excuse me there. Anyways, got a battle for the lead coming off the pit lane here. Isaac Nichols is going to close in here on John Arndt. A very good pit stop for the number 23. And it's only going to be about a half a second, or maybe about a second, for the lead between John Arndt and Isaac Nichols. John Arndt lost about 3 seconds on the 23 on that set of pit stops. But these two guys, Zachary Fitzwater and Elijah Gordon, they're still out there on the racetrack. And right now it's Emerson Sheets leading the field. Hold on. Hold on. Just 1 minute and take a quick little break. You guys won't notice a thing. My apologies for the break there. Emerson Sheets is right now out front in GT Le Mans. And you see Jordan Lopez right behind him. These guys have yet to come down for their second stop. These other guys, it's Dane Ammon in number 40. Had an incident earlier. He's back out on the racetrack in the number 40. It's Cody Sill, Long Beach winner in number 16, a GT Daytona car, holding up this number 15. Now, remember what I said about Elijah Gordon. He came in about like right at halfway. He has a possibility in making it to the end of the race without having to make another stop. And if that's the case, this number 34 might take the win. And anyways, there's Jay Jefferson. He's still leading in GT Daytona. I don't know if these guys have made their second stop yet in this race. We only have 7 laps to go here in the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix. I'm not sure if the GT Daytona cars have made a second stop yet. Number 6 of Devin Cook currently runs in the 3rd position. Tyler O'Reilly runs in the 4th position. You got William Brock running in 5th. And number 21 of Al Lagasse runs in the 6th position in GT Daytona. The Riverside winner having a strong run here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Nick Smith running in the 7th position. He came into this race only 20 points behind Eli Bright and Philip Goldberg in the points lead. There's Caleb Hoffman, the last winner here in the Kubota GT Championship in GT Daytona. He got that win in the Salem's 1 hour of the Glen. He's running 8th right now, number 43. We have Victor Delgado and Matt Dallio, a couple guys we have not talked about yet today. Nathan Stapleton's 11th. And I believe those might be the only guys on the lead lap in GT Daytona. Yes, they are. Only 11 guys on the lead lap in GT Daytona right now. Everybody else has either had an issue or has just gotten lapped by the Le Mans cars. And a very quick stop there for the number 66 of Jay Jefferson. Julius Anderson's going to get off right at the same time as he will. So these guys are probably going to be about the same distance as they were coming in the pit lane. So Jay Jefferson and the number 66, only unless this 11 catches up to him, which I highly doubt that's going to happen because it's a very big gap for the number 66 of Jay Jefferson. And looking pretty good for him. But Nathan Stapleton, William Brock, they stayed out on the racetrack. And they have yet to make their second stop in this race. As for GT Le Mans, we have not followed them in a while. Already's off the racetrack in the number 9. And he is going to lose a lot of positions for doing so. Oh, he just hit the wall hard. Major damage on Tyler already. And another thing to review here on the Canadian Tire Sports Car. Wait, no, Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix. I'm throwing those words around, getting them confused. And that was already who definitely with a major issue in that number 9. I believe Emerson Sheets has come down the pit lane. But I think Elijah Gordon is still out there. I don't know if Cody Smart has come down yet. And Smart might be the leader right now. Yeah, Smart has yet to come down. He's going to make his pit stop. Is Elijah Gordon going to come down? No, he isn't. And this is where things are going to get really interesting. It's going to be 4 laps to go this time by. I really doubt that Elijah Gordon's going to be able to make it to the end of the race. I just don't think it's going to happen. Cody Smart did lead that lap. And Josh Crash was second. Nathan Stapleton has made a stop in GT Daytona. Oh my goodness, this 34 getting held up by 2 GT Daytona cars. It's Matt Delio, Nathan Stapleton in the way of the 34. But Gordon currently leading. He has yet to make his second stop. I don't think he's going to be able to make it to the end, though, without having to come in again. And if he comes in, this guy's in the catbird seat. John Arndt in the number 2. Great race for him. Oh, and you're going to go off the racetrack too, aren't you? It's not a good way to save fuel, is to go off the racetrack. Of course, he can run a decently slow race right now. Because he's got himself 14 seconds on John Arndt. So he can, like, slow the pace down a little bit in that number 34 and be just fine. We're just going to have to see will he come down this time. If he does, this race is most likely going to go to John Arndt. Oh, he's staying out again. 3 laps to go for Elijah Gordon. The big question is, will he have to come down the pit lane? That is just the $1 million question for this race right now. It actually showed that Josh Crash was the leader that last lap. I believe Josh Crash stayed out an extra lap as well. We didn't actually notice it, but he has just come down the pit lane. And the number 34 is officially the leader in GT Le Mans right now. As for GT Daytona, I believe it's still Jay Jefferson in the number 66. I think. Unless William Brock is yet to come and make his pit stop. Trying to find the 1. I believe the 1 has come down. Yes. But William Brock running 3rd right now, number 1. A great run for him. But it is Jay Jefferson leading the field right now in GT Daytona. And most likely he's going to get this win. But this number 11 trying to close in on him. But he's 4 seconds behind. Go back to Elijah Gordon in the number 34. There he is. Will he have to come in this time? If he stays out here, he's not going to be able to make it. And Elijah Gordon coming down in GT Le Mans. There's not enough fuel in the tank to make it to the end of the race. Thought he might have a chance, but not enough. In that number 34. And here he comes, John Arndt in the number 2. He's going to surpass this number 34. The 34 is on the pit lane. And John Arndt has taken a lead away from Elijah Gordon with 2 laps to go in the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix. Number 34 unable to make it to the end. We thought he might have a chance, but he could not do it. Remember, at the end of the Salem's 1 hour of the Glen, Donovan Duthit, who won that race, ran out of gas on the cool-down lap. Now, Duthit had enough, but I don't think Gordon would want to run out of gas on the final lap of this race. And he's actually going to lose quite a few positions behind Blaine Keys. I believe he is going to be in the 9th position at the end of all this. Something happened to one of the guys up there. Yeah, Jordan Lopez is not in the top 9. And Lopez 3 laps down, running 27. Something happened to the number 15. He's not out there anymore. A tough break for him. Anyways, 2 laps to go in GT Daytona for the number 66 of Jay Jefferson. Julius Anderson doing all he can to close in Ooh, it's a pretty close battle right now. I think Anderson closed in quite a bit that last lap. About 1.5 seconds, I think. If Jefferson makes a lot of significant mistakes, he might lose this race to Julius Anderson. Anderson is going to close in here. It could be a close race in GT Daytona, and that would be a heartbreaker for Jefferson. Jefferson's been the dominant guy in that class all day long. Anyways, the white flag has been taken by John Arndt in the number 2. And there he is, Emerson Sheets stuck behind a GT Daytona car, so his hopes of catching up to this number 2 are very slim. But John Arndt in the number 2, he started on the pole at Sebring, had a very tough race there. But it looks like he's going to get some redemption here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park to get 16 points towards the championship in the GT Le Mans Championship points. There's a couple final corners for the number 2, and he's going to be a winner in the Kubota GT Championship in the fastest class of them all. John Arndt in the number 2 wins the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix in GT Le Mans. And then on the GT Daytona, there's the gap between Jefferson and Anderson. It just looks like it's too far for the number 11 to get to him on this final lap. But if Jefferson makes a mistake, he's not going to, and that's probably going to be it for the GT Daytona lead. And it looks like Jefferson's going to be able to do it. Unless Jefferson makes a mistake on these final few corners, Jefferson is going to get the win in the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix here in GT Daytona. And a very solid race for this driver here in number 66. Coming out of the final corner, Jay Jefferson wins the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix in GT Daytona and the Kubota GT Championship. A great run for Julius Anderson, however, running second here today. William Brock grabbing third. And Devin Cook grabbing fourth in number 6, with Al Lagasse finishing in the top 5. But there's your winner in GT Le Mans. John Arndt in the number 2 grabs the victory. And that's going to be 16 points towards the championship for him. And Jay Jefferson gets it done in GT Daytona in the number 66. There's John Arndt coming down the pit lane. And one of the calmer races of the season. But we did have some crashes in this one, and we got quite a few of them to review. A lot of guys with issues in today's race. Look at that. A lot of those issues, I think, were because of these guys coming into the pit lane at a very bad angle, I guess you can say. I mean, they really weren't, figuring that pit lane out too well in the first set of pit stops. But, yeah, a lot of issues. We're not going to go over every single one of them, but we're going to go over the ones I wrote down. So let's go ahead and review the crashes that happened here today in the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix. So Hergil, Arvin, Alonso, this was lap 4 of the race. Thomas Troxel goes off the racetrack, hits the outside wall, gets into the 64. And that knocked out both of those guys in that incident. This was also the same lap, actually just a little bit before Hergil, Arvin, Alonso, and Thomas Troxel got into each other. Victor Delgado, Cody Sill, and Emmanuel Hartnett go 3 wide here. And Delgado gets into that 16, and Hartnett is in the wall along with them. And that's why Cody Sill was on the tail end of the lead lap there in the number 16. Tough break for those guys. Lap 9 of the race, Dane Ammon in the number 40. Trying to get around Donovan Dufit, and that's why Jordan Carter also had his damage, ran right into that number 40 and into the outside tire barriers, and both of those guys involved in that crash on lap 10 of the race. And this was, I believe, lap 11 of the race as well. Daniel McMillan, Eli Bright, they were battling side by side. McMillan had a great run on Eli Bright there and got into him there, and they both went into the tire barriers and both got knocked out early on in this one. And this one, the final one we're going to review. Tyler Aritti was coming off the pit lane, slid off the racetrack, and just like Nicholas Sanbedillo earlier on in the race, hit those tire barriers and knocked himself out. But anyways, there's your winner in GT Le Mans. Number 2, John Arndt, and the number 66 of Jay Jefferson grabbed the victory in GT Daytona. And congratulations to our 2 winners in both classes. And had quite a few guys get knocked out, especially in the Le Mans class, because highest GT Daytona car finished 10th. And that was Jay Jefferson who got the win in GT Daytona here in the Canadian Sports Car Grand Prix. And take a look at the rest of the results right there. And a lot of guys back in there with issues. We didn't actually get to all of them. I don't know exactly what happened to Chris Skidler and some other guys there, but kind of get the gist of what happened today. These guys going off the racetrack in certain parts of the racetrack, and does not work for him. John Arndt gets the victory. His first win of the season here in the Kubota GT Championship. Same for Jay Jefferson, his first win of the season as well. Both gained significant points towards the championship and move their way through the championship very quickly. It's going to be a very good battle for both classes. And we're finally halfway through the season here in the Kubota GT Championship. And the next race here is going to be at the Lime Rock Park. 3 GT Daytona cars are going to fail to qualify for that race. Only 36 can fit the racetrack, so it's going to be an interesting one there for the Northeast Grand Prix. And I hope you guys look forward to that one next week right here on NAPAFan. But anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. Congratulations to John Arndt and Jay Jefferson, the winner in both of our respective classes here in the Kubota GT Championship. Here are the points for both classes in the Kubota GT Championship. And thank you guys once again for watching. I will see you guys later.